Hello, everybody, and thanks again for joining another edition of the Business of OTT. I'm Chris Linden, the Chief Operating Officer of Active Video, and I'm joined today by Jeff Miller, our CEO at Active Video. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm well. I hope you are too. Normally, we'd be sitting next door to each other in our office, and instead we're a few miles apart in our home offices. But it's great to see you anyway.
It's the way it is these days. So COVID in 2021, speaking of which, what should we expect from the business perspective from Active Video over the next 12 months with respect to COVID, and what's your belief and what's going to happen?
Well, I wish we really knew that, but we do see some hopeful signs. I'm sure everyone around the world is seeing that now with the beginning of vaccinations taking place. So in terms of what we've planned for, we expect that by the second half of this year, things will be getting somewhat back to normal. We do expect to return to our offices at some point, perhaps with more work from home capability than we had in the past. But nevertheless, we do expect to be seeing each other face to face before too long, and we do expect to be able to travel before long, which is obviously helpful in developing the business around the world. So we have high hopes that by the second half of the year, things are looking better, and that perhaps even the IBC show, which is usually scheduled for September, might actually be in person this time. So I'd say we're hopeful.
Absolutely. I think everybody is. Now, Nielsen reports that there's been a 16% year-over-year increase in OTT across the board, and other brands outside of the big four have grown 60% year-over-year. What do you think is happening in the industry? What are the key tipping point factors, and how are operators responding?
Well, these were trends that have been going on for a while. I mean, as you know, that the growth of OTT has been pretty steady, accelerated a bit in 2020 because of the stay-at-home situation around the world and more people consuming content from home, theaters being closed, et cetera. That drove more people to OTT, so there was acceleration. But the most interesting aspect of that data is the fact that the growth was in not the top 4 or 5 applications, which have been out there for a while. Those are pretty saturated. It's an indication that the number of applications, the amount of content available is growing exponentially on OTT. It's not all concentrated in one place. So if you're an operator and you're looking at this, where you might have eventually thought that doing 2 or 3 apps in the set-top box was going to cover the market, now you're faced with 10 or 15 or more as the OTT grows. The other thing that's been happening is the consumers, while they want all that content, are becoming fatigued at the number of subscriptions they have to cover their content consumption desires. And that has meant that a lot of those new applications and much of that growth is occurring in advertising supported VOD. So that will imply a lot of new free content supported by advertising, and even more applications for operators to deploy. But by the same token, an opportunity for additional revenue that I think the operators need to start thinking about taking advantage of, which is share of all that advertising revenue that will be growing over the years.
Now, speaking of App Cloud in 2021, what should we be watching for? Where will your major efforts be? Generally, what's happening?
Well, App Cloud, we announced last year, and basically spent most of 2020 talking about it, visiting customers, working on the product and getting it ready. 2021 is the year of actual deployment. So we have engagements with a number of operators now around the world. We will be commercially launching early in 2021. You'll begin to see that with some public announcements, I'm sure, before too long. So App Cloud actually begins to deliver real content to real subscribers in real locations around the world in numerous places in 2021. The other thing that's been happening over 2020 and will continue to happen in 2021 is the growth of our contacts with content providers. So, any app platform gets its value and provides its value through the delivery of important applications and content to subscribers. And that implies a lot of work with content providers, making sure that they're comfortable with the delivery of their applications, the performance, the the reliability, which is frankly significantly better with the cloud-hosted solution of AppCloud than it is with in-box solutions. And so there'll be a lot of evangelizing, a lot of onboarding of new applications, a lot of contact with application providers in 2021.
And finally, in reading, I'd like to read your 2020 tea leaves. What significant changes do operators and content publishers need to be prepared for? What new perspectives should they have?
Well, that's a really good question. I think 2021 accelerated a lot of thinking about over-the-top content, and frankly, the industry for the past 3 or 4 years has been in a phase of disaggregation. Content providers around the world have been creating branding and direct relationships with subscribers that they didn't used to have. They are creating user experiences and more content to deliver to those subscribers directly, which has been at the expense of the operator, the pay TV operator around the world. This content has been disaggregating. Subscribers have been getting their content direct from content providers and less from the aggregated service of cable and pay TV operators around the world. This is a trend we believe will begin to actually slow down, because as we've seen with subscriber fatigue, with the amount of content and single subscriptions that are required, they're beginning to feel the pressure of the loss of the convenience of pay TV services, where all the content is available at your fingertips, where single user experiences and guides are available to do search for content that you want to find that maybe you don't know where it is. The operators are in really good position to provide a single bill, so a single sign-on across multiple apps, global search and recommendations across apps. Many times, maybe a subscriber is simply looking for the Queen's Gambit because they've heard some good things about that content, have no idea that happens to be a Netflix series. How do you find that? In the past, you would go to your guide, you would enter the Queen's Gambit, and it would find it. This is going to be a very important service as more content is available and content that you want to watch. So the operator can provide that. And this has become even more important. We see this happening in 2021 as well. One of the biggest announcements that was quite recent was the announcement of Warner Media that first-run content was now going to be showing in 2021 simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters when theaters are open again. This is a major shift in business model that means further importance of the OTT apps to subscribers. But how many of those are going to want to subscribe continuously to HBO Max simply because there's a first-run movie on, this particular month? So churn on and off of these subscription video services becomes a factor. Re-aggregation, single sign-on, availability of these apps with a single bill becomes, I think, more important. So I think 2015 through 2020 were the years of disaggregation. I think 2021 is the beginning of re-aggregation.
Well put. Well, Jeff, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate, as always, talking with you.
Likewise, Chris. Can't wait to see you in person.
Absolutely. And thanks, everybody, for joining the Business of OTT. We'll see you in an upcoming edition.